Okay, now I want to go over a game between Marshall and Tarrasch, played in Nuremberg 1905 actually. I'll change that, 1905. And it's a Queen's Gambit declined, D51. The game started out D4, D5, C4, E6, Knight C3, Knight F6, Bishop G5, which is the normal line in the Queen's Gambit declined. And then black plays this move, knight on b to d7. Normally black would play bishop to e7 here, but obviously black wants to probably put the bishop somewhere else. And this knight here is naturally going to go to this square where it will support either the pawn push here or the pawn push here. The drawback of this move is that this piece here is pinned. So white plays e3. Right, maybe I should back up a move and say this also sets a trap by black, trying to lure white in the plane. C takes d5, and then e takes d5, and then the trap would be if white decides to think that it can win this pawn here on d5 by knight takes d5, then black just continues knight takes d5, and bishop takes d8, and then here's the continuation. Bishop to b4 check. The only move to save checkmate is the queen going to d2. Bishop takes the queen. King takes his bishop. And actually, black has gotten a knight, or given up a pawn, and it has a knight. So don't fall into that trap. But here, white plays e3, strengthening the center, letting this bishop out here. Black will play c6 for the same reason. It reinforces d5 and also gives the queen a way out on this diagonal. And now white plays queen to c2 because it probably sees black's plan is playing the bishop to here, playing the queen to here, where it will exert a lot of pressure against this diagonal and this pinned knight. So moves the queen up to c2. An alternative, which some people will say, well, if I can just, if you're playing white, you may say, well, I can just develop and not have any problems. But if you decide to say, well, I'm just going to develop my pieces, then let's say queen comes to a5, and you say, okay, I play bishop to d3 just like usual lines, and then this is probably the continuation. Then black will take the pawn, you'll take the pawn, this knight comes in, and now the problem here is that this knight is attacking both ways here, and you have a lot of problems. So if the bishop comes back, knight takes, and then black ends up winning a pawn, and this knight has to come back to block the check and to save the bishop. So that's why the queen comes to c2 here. It's going to lend some support to the defense of this knight. And the queen does come to a5, and now white's going to play c takes d5, because if white plays bishop to d3, then black has this nice little move of d takes c4, where it attacks both bishops. So instead, white plays c takes d5, liquidating the pawn, and now black will just recapture the pawn with a knight. And now white plays knight to f3, really to Marshall's thinking must have been to develop a piece and protect this bishop here, because if black decides to take this knight, if this bishop is not protected, then it's getting this piece, and this bishop is attacked at the same time. But It looks like this move is a move too late, and something needed to be done about this pinned knight here. White should have looked like it should have been concentrating on this piece here, and we'll see that happen, that black's going to end up winning a pawn over this. So white plays knight f3, bishop to b4, and now what can white do to save the pawn? If white plays rook to c1, then the queen just comes and takes his pawn here because the knight is pinned. So the only real move that white has is king to d2. And now black plays c5 to open the center. If you look at it, the king has forfeited the right to castle. It's going to be over here on the queen's side for a little bit, so black's going to open up the bishop file, and if it could take this pawn, it probably can also open up the queen file where the king is sitting, and then attack. So why not? So now white plays a3 on its 10th move, and if you don't know, black could try something. It's going to end up taking this knight here, but it could try something where it takes here, and then white takes here, and black ends up winning the exchange. But when I looked at the variation, which I won't cover, it gets really messy for black. So what black chooses is its sort of the uncomplicated continuation, which leads to a win. So I can attest to that. I've tried that myself too, where things get complicated. When things get real complicated, you always have the opportunity of making a mistake. So black chooses the uncomplicated path. So black plays bishop takes c3 check. Pawn recaptures, the only real move here. And then black plays c takes d4, opening up the bishop file. The only possible recapture for white is e takes d4, since the pawn is pinned. And now black plays knight on 7 to b6 with the idea of moving the knight to here, where it will hit this pawn for a third time. So now white plays bishop to d3, trying to get its pieces out. It would like to play something like king to e2 and bishop back to defend the pawn here, but as we'll see, black won't give white the time of day to do that. And then also with this move, the rook over here on h1 can be developed. So now black plays bishop to d7. Now this bishop can come into the fight, and also this rook over here can come to the bishop file. Rook on h to c1, lending support to the pawn. Rook to c8, attacking the pawn again. Queen to b3, sort of hoping that black will play something like knight to a4, where white can then play something like queen takes pawn. But nope, black plays castles, getting its king in the safety, and also probably with the plan that bringing it the rook to the queen file. King e2. White probably sees that this pawn here is a goner, so might as well try to protect its king. Why lose the pawn and have your king in jeopardy? So it's going to try to increase its king safety at the cost of the pawn. Now black takes the pawn with the rook, and then white retakes. It just can't move the queen and then let this rook come over here and let black dominate the file. So it's going to capture. The queen takes, and now black would hope for that the white would exchange queens when it's a pawn up, and it would make it even easier for it to probably get a pass pawn on the queen side and win. So white does not oblige and moves the queen to b1, where now it's threatening to win a pawn over here. It looks like I'll have to continue this game in the next video.